What is going on, you guys? Welcome back to the channel. So I've been getting this question a lot in the last couple of videos. Static, what is the build cost for Project Blueberry? I figured today let's do a breakdown of the engine build, not the entire build because we're not done with the car. I want to talk about the prices and everything that we've spent on everything to go K-swap and turbo in Project Blueberry. The numbers aren't going to be exact, but it is going to give you a ballpark of how much I spent on the car. And if you guys have been following this build series from the beginning, I said that this is supposed to be a budget build. Budget in the sense of relatability. And obviously, if you guys saw the previous video, we dyno tuned the car. We made some good numbers on non-VTEC, and I still have to tear the car apart to figure out why VTEC isn't working before we head back to the dyno. I've been driving the car around town and just going to the store back and forth, and it is really fun to drive. The temperature has been holding up really well. We've been getting into the 75-80 degree weather out here, and Blueberry doesn't seem to have a lick of issue other than maybe 5th and 6th gear hitting boost cut, which is set at 20. I'm gonna have to enable data logging later so we can figure out what it is actually doing in 5th and 6th gear, but 1, 2, 3, 4, fun as hell. Now I do have Project Blueberry underneath my tree there. I did wash it because it was super dirty from the sap and all of the flour hanging up there. But we have the car here, and I do have a list of everything that we've spent on Project Blueberry as far as the engine goes. So let's just get right into it. So obviously when we got the car, the engine bay was black and we had to spray it because I was not going to swap it in with the ugliness that was going on under the hood. We painted the engine bay Captiva blue, and I did a lot of labor in here just to get it nice and clean for the paint. We did a Radocam paint job to keep it cost effective, and also for those who don't have a compressor or a HVLP paint gun, the paint itself with the primer, the base coat and clear coat to do the entire engine bay with leftover was 230 bucks. Now 230 bucks sounds like a lot. I mean, you can buy single stage and spray this much easier and faster, but I feel like, again, for the relatability for those who don't have a compressor or anything like that, $250 can give you such a great result with Radocam, and the engine bay and Project Blueberry is looking fire. I already knew what I was going to do with the engine swap when I got this car, because if you guys watched the garage cleaning video, I even mentioned it, but a lot of people didn't even catch it. So obviously the power plant here is a K24A2 TSX engine that I got from the junkyard, and everything pertaining to the swap into the car, let's break it down. TSX engine from the junkyard, I spent about 230 bucks. 230 bucks, which included the engine harness, which included the alternator, which included the starter, but nothing from the flywheel towards the tranny side. Now the transmission is a RS6 Type S, which I also got from the junkyard, which actually came out from the junkyard engine in the KRX, because I went with a Z3 LSD, so I opted to use it in here since my 5-speed trans was kind of booty. But we spent 180 bucks for the transmission in the junkyard, obviously plus tax and everything with core. It's probably gonna be about 230, but 180 is the initial listing on their website. And I also did the K20 oil pump, which I pulled from the junkyard as well, and I cleaned it up and made sure the tolerances were right. That was 80 bucks with the windage tray and the chain, and then the guides and stuff I bought it from Honda new, which again, plus or minus, it's not that much more, but 80 bucks for the K20 oil pump. And we did that conversion in here to make sure we don't have oil starvation. In relation to the transmission, I used an RS6 flywheel, which I took out of the KRX because I went light in action on that one. The clutch that's in this car is a competition stage 4, which is 520 bucks give or take, depending on where you're buying it from. This is obviously an eBay intake manifold, and I've ran this many and plenty of times before. We have it on the KRX, we have it on the wagon, and we also have it for a build you guys should be seeing later this week. The intake manifold cost me 120 bucks, and they kind of range from like 100 to 130, again, depending on where you're buying it from. And I am also made it up with a B series eBay throttle body, which is about 45 bucks, 44 bucks. We are using the Hunter Tune fuel rail and the Hunter Tune 1500 cc's. The injectors itself cost 250 bucks, and the fuel rail was $100 off Hunter's website, link in the description below. All of the fuel line components and fuel pressure regulator came from B&R Fittings. Big shout out, his brand is called Fuel It. We have the feed in with the filter, the feed out, and the regulator. That was about $252, and this is all PTFE, so it's all good for like ethanol or race gas without it sticking internally. I forgot to calculate in the Speed Factory thermal gasket. That was 35 bucks. We are using the Maxpedian Rod EP3 idler pulley. It did provide a belt with it as well too, and this allows you to keep the alternator in the stock location without having to buy the more expensive kit to mount the alternator lower down. That is about $65. $65 for the Maxpedian Rod idler pulley. The radiator had it lying around, but if I was to throw a cost in it on eBay, this radiator half core for the EGDCEK, it is 60 bucks give or take, because you can buy a 2-core, 3-core, 4-core. They're going to change in price obviously. And I am running the Spall fan, which is a 13-inch 1250 CFM rating, and this thing is super powerful. Very recommended for turbo setups. That fan right there is about 120 bucks off of Summit Racing or eBay. The radiator hoses came with my engine, but I did change one out, and the radiator hoses online, they're about 30 bucks each for the top and or bottom. So radiator hoses is about 50-60 bucks give or take. We are running the RSX base axles. They are 32 millimeter outers, and they're 100 bucks new for the left and right side from O'Reilly, so I got those brand new. To get the engine mounted into the car, we bought eBay motor mounts, which is 110 bucks, and they work. I mean, they work really good. 110 bucks, what do you expect? I had to modify the rear and the passenger a little bit, but at the end of the day, they ended up working out perfectly fine. They are pretty stiff, which is good for, you know, engine not rocking, but I mean, downfall of that is my whole entire dashboard rattles like crazy. To shift the transmission, we are rocking the K20 Maxpedian Rod shifter box and the Bull Boost Performance shift cables. The shift cables were $100 right there with a, I think it was like 25 bucks for the billet bracket right there on the transmission. And the shifter box itself was $105. And this is also going to vary because of so many different sellers on eBay. But I have this in the KRX and in the Blueberry, and they work great. If you guys are gonna keep the car all motor, the header choice is yours. Now, depending on which header you buy, that's gonna add into the total cost of everything I just said up to this point. I didn't add it all up, but I put a number up here for you guys. And now let's get into the turbo build, which is the second list right here. Now again, I built this turbo kit very budgeted. Nothing here is really name brand, and everything has been working flawlessly in this car. And I do want to turn this up a little bit later because the setup is good for, I want to say it's good up to like 600 horsepower, but we're not quite there yet. Starting back here on the hot part side, we have a Rev 9 cast manifold. This is the cast manifold that uses the 38 millimeter flange for the wastegate down at the bottom, and the turbo would normally sit kind of like right here in this area as a rear top mount. That manifold off of Amazon was $100, and I decided that I wanted to make it into a sidewinder, which you guys can see the turbo now sits over there. You can buy the sidewinder adapter from Just Tig. I think it's like $400 or $500, but I decided to make it myself. I spent $110 on material, and I pretty much experimented. I made a video on it as well too, and it turned out freaking awesome. So I made this sidewinder here to also adapt to a 44 millimeter wastegate, and the turbo now sits on the driver's side. So 110 for material, and then we are rocking the Maxpedian Rod GT3582R. This turbo from their website is 230 bucks before tax and shipping, depending on where you're at. And this thing is rated for 600 horsepower, and this thing has been working perfectly. It sounds freaking awesome. We are rocking the Hunter tuned 44 millimeter wastegate. You can see his name right here on the top. That right there on his website is 120 bucks, and it comes with springs. It comes with all the clamps and flanges and everything you need to make this working. And that thing right there holds down 18 pounds of boost with no spikes. Freaking awesome. We are also running the Hunter Tune 50 millimeter blow-off valve, which this thing right here sounds freaking awesome. Same style I run on all the turbo cars I've built here on the channel, and I'm very preference to the way it sounds. Sounds freaking awesome. I'm running the eBay intercooler, same side inlet outlet, and this was 150 bucks. Very suitable for the K-swap because both charge pipes ends up on the driver's side, so with the intercooler having in and out on the same side, makes it a lot easier for fabrication instead of running like charge pipe all the way around. Especially if you got a big turbo, you're going to be spooling super late. So this intercooler right here is freaking practical for the setup and very affordable. Downpipe and dump tube material, shout out to the homie Kelly built. Everything that I needed was about 130 bucks for all the bends and pies and straights that I needed to make the dump for the wastegate and the 3-inch downpipe for the turbo. We're running the Max Pinion Rod Catch Can kit. The kit includes pretty much the can, the filter, the drain back, the fittings, and the lines. Obviously, you're going to have to get your valve cover bunged or wherever you're going to be breathing from, modified to obviously work with the catch can. This thing is perfect for the setup. No overkill with the big 4-port that normally sits here because I wanted to keep my battery there. So I opt for the small one. Works great. Link in the description below. The aluminum pipings, couplers, clamps, and the IAT sensor is about $100. The IAT sensor flange is about, I don't know, 15 to 20 bucks, and then the charge pipe and everything, I kind of had it lying around, but if you was to guesstimate all the bends and everything you need, it's about $100 again with couplers and T-bolts. So aluminum piping, not too expensive, but if you bought the kit, it'd be more practical because you'd have all the bends and a lot extra lying around. 156 bucks for the 3-inch exhaust system. I made an entire video on the full 3-inch exhaust system that I got from eBay for this car. Now you can leave the canister that came with the kit. I opt to change it out for a Vibrant, which adds another 110 bucks. I did a turn down. It sounds freaking awesome, but as far as everybody told me, the canister that came with the eBay kit does sound good as well too, just not pleasing to the eye, especially if you're in California. In part of the fuel delivery, we did a Walbro 450 on a relay. Shout out to Brian B&R Fittings. I got that for $100 with the install kit, and you can buy that for anywhere between 100 to 120. Again, if you buy it with the relay system or not, I had built my own, so kind of save a little bit there. We did rock with the K-tuner with my so-called free ECU, and not a lot of people run the K-tuner because of having to like run a jumper harness and all of that, but for the budget cost of Blueberry, K-tuner was $500 plus an ECU from the junkyard. I didn't spend no more than $700 opposed to like saying going K-Pro or Fuel Tech or anything like that. I actually don't even have K-tuner in this car, but this car is going to be retuned on K-tuner. Right now the car is currently on K-Pro, which belongs to the wagon, so obviously I'm gonna have to change this out later and go back to K-tuner. That right there is the entire breakdown of putting a K-swap into Project Blueberry and turboing it as well too. Now I didn't include the dyno tune because that's going to vary depending on who you tune by and where you're tuning from. Remote tuning versus dyno tuning, street tuning, it's all going to vary with the price. So grand total for everything to put a K turbo setup into Project Blueberry is $4,436. Now mind you, shout out to the companies that came on board with the build. Shout out to I guess myself for having so much hoarding parts and a lot of the stuff that I already had and used in the car. If I was to deduct all of that from the grand total of $4,436, I spent $2,562 actual dollars for everything that we put into Project Blueberry's engine bay. You guys may still think that $2,000 or $4,000 is expensive. I mean, it is. It's a lot of money. But think about the amount of times you guys heard people say, oh, you need at least $10,000. You need at least $10,000 to put a K into your car. Not necessarily. Not all the time you need $10,000 to put a K into your car. It just depends on what parts you're okay with using. Depending on where you buy your parts, you can get brand name stuff for super cheap, second, third hand from Facebook or something and save money that way. You can use certain things for now until you can save up for the better stuff later. It just depends on how you go about building the car. I did it very budgeted. I used everything that I knew worked and I saved a lot of money. We're not even close to $10,000 and Project Blueberry's freaking K24 turbo. I wanted to make this video because you guys asked about it so many times, but also because I'm falling behind on schedule with you guys probably saw that big Hummer outside, but I wanted to make this video just to kick it out for you guys because I know a lot of you guys had questions of how much I spent on the K24 turbo for Project Blueberry. I hope you guys get an understanding now. You guys can check out Project Blueberry's playlist on the channel. I literally covered every single part that we used under the hood. Every video is specific to a certain item, what I did to install it, how much it cost, even a link to some of the parts if you guys are interested in using the same thing. I am going to wrap up this video so we can get back to work. I hope you guys enjoy it and have an understanding now how much I've spent on Project Blueberry's engine-based stuff alone. If you guys enjoyed this video, man, be sure to leave a thumbs up. And if you guys want to stick around for the Hummer build, be sure to hit the subscribe button. But with that being said, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.